Hi there, welcome to this tutorial video for the QooQee Muse blog/CMS version 2. In this video we will go through the following steps. We will style the appearance of our blog in Muse. We will publish and upload the site to our server. We will configure the system using the online configuration wizard the first time we open the page. We will create some posts and use the additional widgets to dynamically load contents on other pages of our site. Let's begin with importing the new library. If you have the older version in your library panel, you may want to remove it now to avoid mistaking the versions. I'm now importing the mulib file from the product package. And then I can see the components here in the library panel. I can either start from scratch by dragging the blog CMS widget onto the page, or by opening the Styles Muse file, which contains ready-to-use sample designs. In order to show you the process, I will start from scratch. The first thing I will do is to attach the PHP file in the main widget, because I might forget it later. This is the server-side part of the application. I'm going to the folder of the unzipped product package and select the Muse blog main.php file to be attached here. This will automatically upload the file alongside the site. Now back to the styling. Since the blog CMS has a server-side application part, we will need to first upload the site to the server in order to see the dynamic system up and running. So we won't get a functional preview in Muse as with static websites, because the server is needed to dynamically generate the page. But the design will be pretty much like the Muse page, and if there's something we don't like, we can revise the design anytime and republish. The online configuration will remain unchanged. As you notice, we have two sets of template elements, one for the list of the post and the other for the post page. Also, there is a category menu and its sample button, as well as the main widget, of course. Please note that the main widget is also the container for the actual blog, so the width of the blog post and pages will be determined by the width of this widget, not by the width of the template elements. The template elements will proportionally adjust to the width of the main widget, so there is no need to resize them now. Each set of the template elements is placed in a container. They need to be in the containers, and each element and container has a different graphic style, so please don't move the elements out of the container or replace the elements of one with the other. The containers of the template elements are pinned to the top of the page to avoid white space at the bottom. As soon as the page loads, these elements are removed and replaced by the actual dynamic posts. But if I don't pin them, Muse will preserve the empty space. Alternatively, you can move them out of the page. Okay. I will go ahead and do some styling and layout changes here. The custom fields are additional fields which can be used and customized if you need more fields than the standard ones. I will remove most of them but two. One as a second line title and another as a quote. In the new version, you can now remove any unwanted elements and they will be automatically hidden from the site. You can also move and resize them as you wish. Please note that longer text will make them push down other elements, so design the layout with that in mind. Muse actually doesn't know that we will be using this fixed design in a variable way, depending on the content length. But we will publish the page and create a few posts, Then if something didn't work the intended way, we will come back and make refinements. A rule of thumb for avoiding unwanted effects would be to make sure the elements are not overlapped or too tightly placed. Also, if we know that there will be longer text in the actual posts, then we will avoid pinning the elements within the container, because pinned element can't be moved or pushed dynamically based on the content's length, before or around them. I will also apply a border stroke and background to the post list container, so I will move the elements in a little to leave some space around the text elements. And I will do some styling on the post page set as well. While formatting the text, please note that only web-compatible fonts should be used, otherwise Muse will render the fields as an image, and the blog CMS won't be able to use them as a text template for your post. If you accidentally use a non-web compatible font, you will see this image icon at the corner of the field, which is an indication and warning that the field will be rendered as an image. If you're a first-time user and this looks too abstract to you at the moment, let me show you how this looks when it's uploaded to a pre-configured blog. We will later go through the uploading and the first-time configuration process, but this is how it looks online. Of course, you can upload and configure the blog at any stage of the design, then continue designing and republishing to see the blog in action. You don't need to remove any files on the server in this between steps. Simply overwrite with a new export, and the post and the online settings will be preserved. Please note that there are 3 item pairs that are grouped in a common container with a special graphic style: the author and the preposition, the word category and the category link, and the word tags and the tag links. This grouping has a special reason. Let me show you an example of a non-grouped pair. This looks fine so far, but we can change the wording of the front-end elements. So let's say the blog administrator changes their mind after a while and wants to change the word tags to something longer like keywords of this post. As you can see, it doesn't look nice anymore, because each of the fields is breaking the text individually. Now, the blog CMS has a special treatment for these 3 pairs. If you leave them grouped, the system will handle them as one combined field. This is an example of the result. As you see, the text is breaking as a whole, not in individual fields. If you, for any reason, want these elements to be handled separately, as in the first example, you can cut them, remove the common container, and paste them back in the post container. Please make sure to paste them into the container, otherwise they will hover on the page and cannot be accessed by the blog. There is an exception with the tags. They need to be in a group with the word tags if you want each tag to look like the style tag link container. For example, if it is designed as a closed cell with a fill color or a border stroke. Also, please note that this special grouping can only be applied to these 3 pairs, not to other elements. Now, for the layout of the images, there is an important option. Also, we have a number of options in the online configuration of the blog CMS, so I'm going to show you a few results for comparison. This is a thumbnail view with the images overflowing the container. This is a full-width view with the images again overflowing the container and pushing the rest down. This is only the first image of each post cropped to the container. Of course, we will need to upload the site to the server to see the online settings, and we will get into that shortly, but I wanted to show you the combinations so you have a better understanding of what's happening here. Another interesting feature of the new version is that you not only have many dynamic fields and a flexible structure, but you could even add any static elements to the containers. For example, I will now test this with a text field here, and a graphical element here. And in a flash forward in the online publish, you can see that all posts now contain our new elements. This could open up a new path to many possibilities for the designer. Now I'm going to style the comment cells and the header. The vertical spacing between these parts, as well as the vertical spacing between the posts, is defined in the main widgets menu in the first section. Now that we're finished designing the main breakpoint, I'd like to add a phone version. It would probably be a better idea to start with a smaller version first and expand, but I didn't want to confuse you at the beginning. One great feature of the new version is that we have the freedom to make a completely different layout on each breakpoint. It would be a good idea to keep the number of the breakpoints to a minimum in order to reduce the file size and to make the page load more quickly. 2 or 3 breakpoints are okay, but usually there is no need to create more than that. Of course, it's technically possible to create any number of breakpoints. It will just increase the file size and the loading time. But as an example of how multiple breakpoints could come handy, let me show you this page with several columns and a different number of columns on each breakpoint. If I resize the page, we can see that the layout jumps in several steps from 5 columns to 1. The column options can be found here in the second section of the main widgets menu. If you use it, please make sure that the width value of the breakpoints always matches the actual breakpoints. Let's talk a bit about the category menu. First of all, it's optional, so you can remove it if you don't want it. For example, if you're going to stick with one category, but otherwise it's a good tool for navigation. The dark bar is the main widget and the container for the actual menu. The button template is used for design in the same way that we use the post template elements, with the difference that the button template itself is also a widget and has a number of options in its menu. Probably the most significant of which is the variable width option. Let me show you 2 examples with and without an option activated. We can set the colors and the menu orientation in the widget menu of the category menu widget. Please note that if you're going to use the horizontal orientation, you need to resize the menu to the desired width. If you leave it as short as this, the buttons will stack on top of each other, resulting in a vertical menu. Now I would like to add a tag cloud and a search box. Both are easily added. I'm simply dragging the widgets from the library panel and dropping them onto the page. Then doing some resizing and styling. I will also change the font from the text panel and change the link color in the widget menu of the tag cloud. Here we also have several options for the sorting and size of the tags, also whether they should be displayed as a list or as a cloud. The button for the search box can be styled to your preference. You can basically create your own button, as long as it has the block search button graphic style applied to it. I'm going to add an icon as a fill image. I could even completely remove the button, as the search box can be triggered with the Enter key on the keyboard. Also, for the sake of demonstration, I will change the placeholder word search to the German word Suche and make the color a little brighter. You could use the search box on any page of your site, but if you place it on a different page, please make sure that the path is indicated correctly in the widget menu. Before I upload the site, I will make sure that the PHP file is attached in the menu of the main widget. Otherwise, we will receive a network communication error. Now I'm going to connect to our FTP host as usual and upload the site. The first time we open the uploaded page in the browser, there will be a configuration wizard. On the first step, we can see if the server fulfills the minimum requirements or if there are any problems. If no problems are reported, the activation fields show up, and we can activate the license using the email address used for the purchase and the order ID, which can be found in the order confirmation email from QooQee. Each license is valid for activation for one project or end client, but you can activate it on 2 domain names or subdomains, one domain for testing and the other for the final publishing. These settings are really comprehensive and we can change them anytime later. So for now I will continue with the default settings and only complete the required fields. This is where our data is saved. The first and the easier option is SQLite, which is a file-based system and requires no pre-configuration. If you're going to have thousands or millions of posts, you might use the MySQL option instead. but MySQL requires a pre-configuration on the cPanel of your server, for which we have a separate tutorial. Also, the default option will be sufficient and easy to use for most websites, so I will continue now with SQLite. I will need to enter a title for my site and a valid email address for the outgoing emails. Usually hosting providers require this address to be on the same domain as your site, otherwise the server may hold the outgoing emails back. Now, here we can create our administrator or first author account. We can later add multiple authors in the system anytime. If you are upgrading from a previous version of the Muse blog, you will need to carry out the following steps. First, I'm downloading a backup of everything in the public HTML directory of the server. I'm using a freeware FTP client called FileZilla, but you could alternatively use the file manager of your server if you prefer so. Then I'm going to upload the changed site, which contains the newer version of the Muse blog/CMS, hence replacing the old files on the server. Now when I open the blog page, I see this notification about the license. So I need to reset and reactivate the blog. I will now reset the blog by removing the following files on the server. Please note that I'm still keeping a backup of them. We will at least need the database file later for the restoration. Now the blog is reset and I will see the configuration wizard. I will continue and activate the blog CMS version 2 using my new license. Regardless of the database type I have been using before, I will now continue with SQLite, because this is temporary. Also, this administrator account is temporary, but to avoid confusions, I will simply re-enter the same data as in my previous installation. After the reactivation of the system with the new license, I will need to restore the database. If I have been using MySQL, I will only need to go to the settings page and switch to MySQL. Re-entering the same connection credentials for an existing MySQL database will restore the posts. If we have been using SQLite, it's even easier, and we will only need to upload and overwrite the file museblogdb.sqlite with our backup. Please note that this will also restore the admin and author accounts from the previous install. Now we can log in using the administrator account, which we either set up during the configuration process or restored from a previous install. There are two ways to reach the login form. Either by clicking the login button, which is actually a graphic style that you can apply to any custom object on the page, or by entering the direct link, which is similar to the show all link, but instead of the word all, has the word login at the end. On the login form, there is an optional SSL login link, which requires an SSL support on your server. Hosting providers usually require an annually purchased SSL certificate so you can use the same URLs with HTTPS. But even if you don't have an SSL option on your server, the login functionality of the blog CMS is secured against brute force attacks by automatically blocking the account temporarily after a number of failed login attempts within a certain time frame. We need to create at least one category to proceed. Then we will go to the New Post section to create a new post. I think the options here are self-explanatory. One of the new features is that we can hide an image from the post by double-clicking on the thumbnail. Also, we can use the URL in the Insert Image field of the editor, so if you would like to embed an image in the text, the easiest way to do would be to upload it, then hide the image from the image gallery of the post, and use the URL above to embed it. The image is still accessible for embedding, even if it's hidden from the gallery. If we pick a date up till present, the post will be published now. If we pick a date in the future, the post will be scheduled for that date and automatically released then. When you're logged in as an administrator or author, you will see these cogwheel icons on the list of the posts. They are invisible to the normal visitors. There is a small menu here from which you can access the editor, or publish or hide a post, or delete it. When we designed the page in Muse, I told you that I would like to have 2 additional custom fields, one as a second line title and another one as a quote text. Now I'm going to add them in the post structure in the CMS. I will open the settings section, then scroll down to the checkbox that reads Create additional custom post fields. When I click it, I will be able to choose the number of the additional fields, and I set it to 2. Then I will name the fields and select the type of the first one as a single line and the second one as multi-line. Now when I enter the new post section, you will see that the structure of the post has changed and I have these additional input fields. Let's fill them with some text. And when we save the post, we can see the additional fields in action, in the way we styled them in Muse. Now that we have a few posts, let me demonstrate the Post Field Loader widget. I have created a hidden post and set its date back so it appears at the beginning of my post. We will now try to dynamically load the contents of this post on a test page that I have created in Muse. I will drag and drop 3 Post Field Loader widgets here, then set their types to text and image. Also, I will style them in the way that I would like the actual contents to appear. The widget gives me a placeholder text according to the selected type, so I can see the effect of the styling in Muse. In the online system, you will notice that each post has a unique numerical ID. It can be seen at the end of its URL. If I enter this number in the Post Field Loader, I can load a particular field of that post, no matter if the post is hidden or visible. So beside our regular visible posts, we have a few hidden posts with which we can control the contents of various pages of our website. I could also easily create a second blog and store the CMS posts there if I wanted to separate the 2 sections. In that case, I would create a subdirectory for the second blog CMS, make a simple 1-page Muse project for it, and upload it directly to the subdirectory. But for now, I will continue with the one system on our site. This is a very handy tool for breaking the static boundaries of a Muse website. You can manage the content of particular pages dynamically through the blog CMS instead of going back to Muse every time. Another handy tool is the improved Recent Posts widget, which you may know from the earlier versions. Among the new features are the complete stylability in the manner of the main pages and finer selection of the source categories. For example, you may want to load posts of up to 5 particular categories, or all, or just one. You have the choice. Also, theoretically, you could limit the post to only one and use the widget in a similar way that you use the post field loader. Another handy option is that you can now turn off the linking, as in particular situations when you just want to show the post but don't want the visitor to be directed to the blog post. Here is a working example with several dynamically loaded fields, including recent posts and post field loaders. I hope you found this tutorial video useful. If you have any questions, feel free to visit our online documentation pages. Thanks for watching.